Well, I guess we'll just kind of start. I mean, with the big move. I guess, what were you looking for as you got to the deadline, and then how did it kind of come about with that you kind of zeroed in on Serge and decided that was the piece you needed to add?
Yeah, I think, Jim, you build a team in the off season, constantly evaluate, try to figure out how to get better. Every single day, we've had some injuries. We've had different things that happened throughout the year so far that really helped us define the pillars of what we wanted to accomplish with a deadline move or moves. And I think flexibility with the roster, having an option to continue to add to the team post-deadline was important. We think roster spots will be valuable for us, to be determined what that nets out for us. Adding versatility defensively was a really important pillar for us. An insurance policy for our top-level talent. Just in case we took an injury to one of our upper level high-end rotation guys, having some insurance there, and really just high-end talent. And Serge is a guy who has won at a high level. He's an NBA champion. He's been to the finals twice. He's a 3-time All-NBA first-team defensive player. He and Brook Lopez, 2 and 3 in the NBA for active players, all-time blocks list. And a guy that could space the floor and shoot. And so he really just checked a lot of boxes on the floor, off the floor, and strategically gave us an option to do a move that gave us a chance to have more roster spots to rethink the end of this roster as we go forward. So excited that he's here. You never know if these things are going to work or not until after they play out. But it was absolutely what we wanted to do. He's one of our top targets, and I'm thankful that we were able to figure out a way to do it.
Obviously, quickly here, I know you wouldn't have made the move if you didn't feel good about it, but I mean, he did have back surgery a year ago, and he missed time. Like, what was it important that you saw him play a bunch of minutes before seeing him in person in LA? You know what I mean? Like, and I know there's a physical part of it to pass, but where was that in the calculus to just know he was still going to be that guy for you after a back surgery?
Yeah, I don't think seeing him live in LA versus us had no impact on making the move or not. Seeing him play competitive NBA basketball post-injury, absolutely. But he's done that. I mean, he's played a number of minutes. He's played really well. He's had big moments. Looked like he took his rehab very seriously. Obviously, he had the stint in the G League. And just a really motivated, focused, high-performing, experienced player. And I think we've got him in the right spot. And I think he's really excited to be here with us. We're excited to have him.
When or where did you learn as a roster builder, and maybe this was before, to be able to separate yourself from previous moves? And what I mean by that is these last couple of years, you've made free agent moves, right? You've had first-round draft picks that you've moved on from in the middle of the season. When did you learn to do that? Because I know some personnel execs might say, hey, I signed these guys, they could be the guys to get us to the end goal that I thought. Like, when did you kind of determine that you needed to have that little bit of separation of moves you made before to maybe change it to be better later?
Yeah, I think over the 16, 17 years that I've been doing this, the chance to work with leaders like Joe Dumars and John Hammond, and just the experiences that I've had, you learn that you treat people fairly, honestly. You have real, genuine, sincere relationships with your players. But I think all the guys who we've either acquired or traded throughout the course of time would tell you that we've been honest and upfront that while they're here, we're going to do everything we can to resource them, to develop them, to love them, to give them the best chance to be their best selves, and at the same time we have a job to do, and we're going to constantly look how we can improve the roster and get better every day. And so I think when you have that level setting type relationship, it takes the emotion out of it, and it really becomes how do they get better at doing what's right for them, and how do we get better. And I think specifically in this case, Jim, Donte, was able to draft Donte, have an incredible relationship with Donte prior to this move. I'll have an incredible relationship with him for the rest of his career. I think this gave the Milwaukee Bucks a chance to be better for what we need today, and to grow and to have the best season we can have. And actually, I think it works out really great for Donte. I think this gives him a chance to be in a role that he deserves, that he's worked for, and that he's going to give him the best chance to earn money and to earn playing success that he's worked for. And I think he's he's thankful and happy for the move. I think we are excited about the move, and I think it's unique, but I'm thankful for the fact that we can have those types of relationships and we can execute these types of things and maintain the relationships that we have. And we do that by just having honest, level-setting relationships at the beginning.
Thanks.
Eric?
John, with the injuries to Brook in the path, and then I think once Greg's 10 days up, you'll have 3 open roster spots. This is probably, I can't think of another example, the least complete your team has been immediately following the trade deadline. So for you, like, what are you still thinking about adding? Like, where are you looking? Like, what do you think this team still needs?
It's interesting, Eric. I agree in terms of sheer numbers, least complete. In terms of kind of playoff depth and rotational depth, maybe the deepest that I felt like we've ever been going into a stretch run heading into the playoffs. So although depending on what happens with Greg, we'll have 12 guaranteed spots. We have 12 guaranteed spots, and we'll still have 12 guaranteed spots. I think like we're really deep. I think we're deep at every position. I think we're well balanced. Brook will be back and will play for us this year. Pat Connaughton will be back and will play for us this year. And so, we're really looking at 12 guys that can give us playoff minutes on this team. And so I think we're looking for the best fit talent-wise, the best fit kind of culture-wise. And it could really kind of manifest itself, I think, across the board, really. It could be guard help. It could be big help. We're always looking for shooting. We're always looking for experience and toughness, defensive versatility. A lot of the things that Serge gave us in this move, I think we'll look for more of that. But positionally, I'm really less worried about what that means positionally. I just think we're really balanced and really deep. And so, yeah, we have 3 roster spots. I think our team is pretty set as it is. But I'm thankful that we have 3 roster spots. It was one of the goals to really take some more bites at the apple and figure out how to add some specific pieces to this team. I don't think we're going to rush. If something great comes at us, we'll do it as early as today or tomorrow or the next day. If we don't love it, we'll wait. We'll be patient. I don't think we have to rush into do anything. There's not a big hole in my mind in our roster.
With Serge now, and then with Brook being back, that'll be 4 big men. For the most part, for the last 2 years, you guys have had either like 3 legit big men on the roster, or Bud has just played 3 big men. Kind of what goes into the thought process of being bigger? Presumably, by the time the playoff rotation comes around, those are 4 guys that are going to be in it, and you will be bigger this year.
Yeah, I think matchup-wise, you look at how some of the teams have built around us for the playoffs. I think there's some great teams out there in the Eastern Conference in particular. I think with Cleveland and Toronto, Boston, Philly, these are the great teams that are big. I mean, there's great teams that are great in other ways, but I think these teams really have a chance to be big. And I don't know if that's directly in response to us and how we've played in the past few years. We've always been a big team, even though we might not have had 3 or we have 4 or 5 bigs and just had 3, but we're big. We're big at the guard. We're big at the wing. We're big at the bigs. So I think it's going to give us a chance to match up against those teams. Also, I think our rebounding and our toughness and kind of our presence at the rim is a little bit of our identity and our calling card. And so adding players to that, kind of independent of how big they are, is always going to be something we try to do. Last year we did it in a 6'6", 6'7" PJ Tucker package. Now this year we did it in a 6'10" Serge Ibaka package. So I see this as a similar move to PJ having a chance to have a similar impact. I don't know that Serge will guard the 1s and the 2s, the way that PJ Tucker did, but I think Serge can guard the 4s and the 5s in a different way than what PJ Tucker did. So it's just versatility. I think we want to find the best 7, 8, 9 guys who can play meaningful playoff minutes, and our roster is so versatile, I think we can kind of do it in different ways.
George has been out now for 2 weeks with neck soreness. Bud said he might be out the next 3 games to kind of roll it through to the All-Star break. I think that would eventually be about a month with the neck soreness injury issue. Just for you guys, is this a situation where you think you're going to need a different point guard? Like, as the season comes through, do you think George is coming through? I guess just kind of an update on George and where his neck is at and kind of what you guys are thinking about him.
Yeah, I don't know about like timing beyond what's been said, from Bud or other people. I would just say like we expect George to be back, be healthy, have an impact down the stretch run of the regular season and the playoffs. I don't think there's any real concern whether or not George is going to come back and play. I mean, he feels great. He's doing great. He's doing what he needs to do to kind of be his best self physically when it matters most for us. And I think that'll be shortly after All-Star break, and I don't really see any hiccups there.
Thank you.
Steve?
You were saying that in terms of playoff depth and rotational depth, maybe this is the deepest y'all been going into the stretch run. I was just wondering, from your perspective, how do you think y'all compare to maybe the last few years in terms of depth? Why do you think you're maybe a little deeper than you were last year or the couple years before?
Yeah, I think when healthy, Steve, we don't really play this way. We don't say, hey, you're a 1, you're a 2, you're a 3, you're a 4, you're a 5. But when you draw a roster up, if you had a whiteboard in front of you, I think we actually have a legit starter and a legit backup at every position. And so I think that just tells me that our depth is I think easily through 10 right now. It's made up of players who have played deep playoff basketball, who have had impact in deep playoff basketball. Some of that just comes through the experiences and the run that the players on our roster have had, based on what we've done the last couple of years. So that in itself makes us deeper and more experienced. Some of it's been through what we've added: George Hill, Grayson Allen, Serge Ibaka, the moves that you have to do with the open roster spot. So I think the experience and the organic growth of our team makes me feel like we're deeper than we've ever been. And then I think through some of the additions that we've had, I think we've added depth as well.
And just looking around the East, how much tougher do you think the conference is now than maybe it was a week ago with some of the moves that were made around the deadline? Or do you notice a major difference?
Yeah, it's a lot of changing places. I think the overall talent is similar. There's other teams who've done great things at the deadline. I think we did what we needed to do at the deadline. I think other teams did it as well. It was a very active deadline. I don't know. I think it seems like right now in our conference that we can gain ground. Well, we can't gain ground. We can lose ground without playing. You could be in second place and the next day be in fifth place and we didn't even play a game. I'm not sure how that happens, but it's so tight, the top 5 or 6 in our conference. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to talent, to health, to being lucky, playing right at the right time. And so we're doing everything we can to be prepared. But I think the conference was tough before the deadline. It's just as tough now. Maybe some change of faces, change of names on different teams. But I think overall the talent's really, really good in our conference. And I think we're one of those teams that has a chance, and look forward to kind of seeing how it all shakes out.
Thank you.
Jamal?
Hey, John. Jamal Collier from ESPN. Doesn't ever get a chance to actually.
Hey, Jamal.
But, you talk about versatility a lot and sort of wanting that to be a factor on this roster. Playing without Brook this year defensively is kind of, you guys have mixed up a couple different schemes. And sort of the traditional drop. Just kind of how do you feel like that will benefit the team in the playoffs of sort of, playing a little bit more zone, playing a little bit more switching, and mixing in these defensive schemes?
It's really more of a Bud question, a strategy question, but I would just say it's hard to do things in playoff pressure moments that you haven't practiced. And some of the injuries and things that have happened to us throughout the year have helped us practice more things. And I think being able to play in different ways and play well in different ways is always a good thing. I don't think you can do too much of that. You have to stay true to who you are and the foundation of who you are and what got you where you are. And I think we've done a good job of that. And so I directly to your question, I think the answer is just that we've practiced stuff more. And so I think the more that you practice it, the better you're at it, and you are at it. And I think that'll play well for us. We have a roster that can play in a lot of different ways, and it starts with Giannis. Giannis can play every position. He can kind of do everything skill-wise on the floor, everything energy and effort-wise on the floor, and it goes on down through Drew and through Chris and Bobby and Brooke and Pat, Grayson, and adding Serge, and so George Hill. I just think Wesley Matthews is a very versatile defender, and so I think versatility is a focus, and you've got to be able to play in a lot of different ways to win series by series. Every series is different. Every matchup is different. It's one of the things that I think we learned last year, and we want to be positioned to play against different teams in different ways and be successful, and I think we've done that.
Thank you.
Stephanie Sutton?
John, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, Stephanie.
Hi, how are you? You kind of touched on it already, but the East is stacked this year. What things specifically do the Bucks need to do to get out of the East again and defend your title?
Yeah, sorry, Stephanie, it's going to be a boring answer, but we've got to get better every day. That's been our mantra. It's been something we've lived off of. It's worked well for us. I think the guys believe it, coaches believe it, we believe it. As soon as I'm done with this meeting, I'm going to go back into my office and figure out how we can get better today than we were yesterday. Try to keep adding talent to the team. The guys had a great practice shoot around today, and they're focused on getting better. And tonight's opponent against Portland, and I think you don't know. Ultimately, you can only control what we can control. Injuries are always going to be a factor. Talent's always going to be a factor. You got to have some luck. But I think this team will be focused on getting better every single day, staying in the moment, and just continuing to kind of play for each other and with each other. And I think if we do that, we'll have a chance.
Real quick, pressure-wise, is there more pressure to repeat now that you guys are the defending champs?
I don't know. I mean, it's from my position, is there more pressure to repeat? I don't think so. The goal was never to repeat, and the goal has always been to build something where we can sustain success for a long period of time and be in a position year in, year out to win. And we've done that almost every year that we've been here. We've won it once. I think so far this year, as it stands today, we're in a position again to have a chance. We'll see what the outcome of that is. I think the pressure has been the same, Stephanie, because the pressure has always been to kind of meet our goal, and that's been our goal. Get better, build something we can sustain, and have it be in a position to win. And I think we've done that. And so now I can't answer that for the players or the coaches that are performing ultimately on the floor night in and night out. But organizationally and overall, holistically, our goal has just been to build something that we can sustain. We've done that.
All right, time for two more. Let's go to Martenzi Johnson.
Hi, John. For a few of your questions, health and availability seem to be your answer for how you all can be successful down the road. But how much does previous health and availability, so maybe injuries in the beginning of the season, how does that dictate what you do at the trade deadline? How does that impact what you do with the buyout market? How does that impact what you do to get the roster ready headed into the playoffs?
I think it impacts it a ton, but I also think we have to protect ourselves from that. It's really hard because you ultimately want to have the purest, most accurate evaluation of your team you can before you make decisions. You don't want to overreact or underreact to things, and the best way to evaluate your team is to see it, and to see it perform, and to play, and to check the metrics, and to really pressure test it. And big parts of our team have missed big moments this year, and so it's really hard to fully understand what we have or what we don't have. The flip side of that is, a large part of this group from the last few years is still intact, and we know how they've performed. And so trying to strike that balance, I don't know if we struck it well or not, but strike that balance between not overreacting to something that's happened and not underreacting to things, that you don't like. Whatever metrics that we rigorously test and study and follow, and there's a few of them. There's some of them aren't exactly where we would want them to be heading into the deadline. Got to figure out how much of that is because we're not as good as we thought we were, or because we've had injuries, or a little bit of a playoff hangover. I mean, you got to evaluate all those things. And so I don't know if we struck the right balance, but I think the answer to your question is it has an impact, and it's my job ultimately, and our job as an organization, to evaluate how much of an impact it should have on the things that we do or don't do. And so the balance that we struck this year was to really kind of take the three players that we did, go get a player that we thought figured into our playoff rotation, that had the experience and the skill set that fit us, and be left with some optionality to continue to add to the roster in ways that we think we need to over these next few weeks. So we'll find out. We'll find out if we struck the right balance or not, but it absolutely has an impact.
Thank you.
All right, Christos, last one.
Hello, Mr. Horst. Christos Santos from Greece. Hope you're doing well. Where do you feel you are right now as a team, quality-wise, confidence-wise, shape-wise, overall, about the coming up playoffs, and what makes this team so attractive place for big stars in the league, from your perspective?
Where do I think we are as a team? I think we're maybe in the best spot we could be in today with everything that's happened, but not nearly where we need to be. And I think everyone would tell you that we have habits to develop, we have talent to add from my perspective, we have things to work on from a coaching perspective. Like I said, we want to get better every single day. And so there's upside in this team, both in the talent that we can add, the habits that these players and coaches can create, and the different things that we can work on. And luckily we have, a quarter or so of the season left to to really kind of refine those things and get better and be in the best position we can, hopefully be in the best health we can. And so that's where I think we are. I think we're in a good spot, but we have a long ways to go. And I think everyone would agree with that, and we want to figure out how to take advantage of that today, get a little bit better today. To the second part of your question, why do I think high-level talent or star talent, is enticed or excited about Milwaukee? It's pretty simple, like Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, you get a chance to play with one of the greatest players maybe ever to play the game. We'll see how that goes down. Definitely one of the greatest players to play in our league right now. He's done a bunch of special things as a player, and he's an incredible person. And he's got some really great teammates that fit well with him that are also really talented. Drew Holiday is an all-star in my book, in Giannis's book, in Chris's book, and should be in the NBA's book. Chris Middleton is an all-star. Giannis is an all-star. So we have high-level talent on this team, great supporting cast. Just mentioned Brook Lopez and now Serge Ibaka, Milwaukee Bucks, who are 2 and 3 in the NBA all-time for active players and block shots. These guys are all NBA defenders that are going to protect their teammates and back up their teammates. And so there's a lot of talent, second to none being Giannis. And I just think players want to play with great players. They want to play in a place where they have a chance to win, and that's been Milwaukee for the last few years.
All right, great. That's it. Thanks, John.
All right, thanks, everybody. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, John.
Take care.